Trades have been around baseball since the earliest days of the sport. Players can get traded for a number of reasons, but it's normally in exchange for another player or monetary compensation. Players have been traded during games that they're playing in, while vacationing in the off-season, and in a number of other unusual circumstances. There are times, though, where players are traded for some truly bizarre reasons. Here are some of the weirdest and wackiest trades in baseball history. This is probably the most famous or infamous trade of all time, depending on which side you look at. It involves two of the oldest and most successful franchises in baseball history, and arguably the best player to ever play the sport. Babe Ruth was traded from the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees in 1919 for $25,000 so that then Red Sox owner Harry Frazee could finance a play. This, in turn, would spark the curse of the Bambino, which saw the Red Sox go 86 years without a World Series title. Ruth found success in New York as a hitter, and went on to become the greatest home run hitter of all time. In 1890, Cy Young was starting his career as a 23-year-old, pitching for the independent Canton Aggies. Yes, that was a real team. His devastating fastball had caught the attention of the Cleveland Spiders of the National League, who wanted to purchase the young right-hander. Being an independent team doing business with an affiliated ball club, they couldn't just simply swap players. So the Aggies agreed to ship Young to the Spiders for $300 and a brand new suit for their manager. Young would go on to be a Hall of Fame pitcher, setting records for wins, innings pitched, and games started. He also has the award for the most outstanding pitcher named after him. A 19-year-old Tris Speaker made his Major League debut in 1907 for the Boston Americans, picking up just 3 hits and 19 at-bats. That offseason, after changing their name from the Americans to the Red Sox, the team made its next big move, trading a young Speaker to the Little Rock Travelers of the Southern League for access to their spring training facilities. The Red Sox were trying to save some money and thought that a free spring training complex would be in its best interest. Speaker hit .350 for the Travelers in 1908 before being reacquired by the Red Sox for good and beginning his Hall of Fame career. Speaker would set the Major League record for doubles with 792, and his .345 batting average is 6th all-time. Dave Winfield was at the end of his Hall of Fame career in 1994 when he was traded from the Twins to the Indians for a player to be named later. But the infamous player strike happened shortly after the deal went through, ending the season. Winfield was at the end of his contract and was a free agent at the season's end, so the Twins would never get their player to be named later. The Indians executives felt bad about this deal, and as a way to thank the Twins for their business, they took him out to a nice steak dinner in return. As fate would have it, Winfield would sign with the Indians in 1995 and play his final 46 games as an Indian. Another Hall of Famer who was traded at an early age for something ridiculous. As a 19-year-old, Grove was pitching for the Martinsburg Mountaineers when he attracted the attention of the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles liked what they saw in Grove and wanted to purchase him from the Mountaineers. A devastating tornado had just destroyed the Mountaineers' fence, and they agreed to trade Grove to Baltimore as long as the Orioles paid for their new fence, totaling around $3,600. Grove would go on to be a 300-game winner, MVP, 2-time Triple Crown winner, and 2-time World Series champion. John McDonald was a journeyman infielder playing for 8 teams over a 16-year career. While he was with the Toronto Blue Jays in 2005, he was shipped south of the border to the Detroit Tigers for future considerations. In the 2005 offseason, the Tigers sent him back to the Blue Jays as a future consideration, thus successfully trading John McDonald for John McDonald. McDonald is one of only 4 Major League players to be traded for himself, sharing the honor with Harry Cheedy, Dickie Knowles, and Brad Goulden. In May of 1922, the Chicago Cubs and St. Louis Cardinals were playing a doubleheader at Wrigley Field. After the first game, the Cubs made a deal to send outfielder Max Flack to the Cardinals for Cliff Heathcote, and the two switched uniforms and dugouts. They both took the field for Game 2 for their new teams in their new dugouts. Heathcote will go on to be a Cub for the next 8 years, while Flack will play the last 3 seasons of his career in St. Louis. Keith Comstock is known for a number of reasons. His most notable is his legendary 1989 baseball card, which was deemed the funniest of all time by ESPN. But before that, while he was still bouncing around in the minor leagues, he was traded from the Oakland Athletics to the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers saw some promise in the southpaw and agreed to pay $100 for Comstock and throw in a bag of new baseballs. There was a catch, though. Comstock had to deliver the baseballs himself. Lyndon Darno was a light-hitting infielder in the late 1920s, picking up 6 big league hits for the St. Louis Browns in 1929. The following season, he was playing with the San Antonio Indians of the Texas League when the Indians dealt him to the Dallas Steers for a dozen donuts. These weren't hitting donuts, they were the edible kind, and this was long before Dunkin' Donuts was a thing. These donuts were likely homemade before being sent between the Texas teams. However, Darno would never suit up for the Steers. He would only go on to play 58 games over the next 2 seasons before his playing career ended. Before the 2013 minor league baseball season started, the Los Angeles Angels struck a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies to acquire a right-handed pitcher to bolster their minor league bullpen. Mike Sisco was sent from the Philadelphia organization to the Los Angeles organization for nothing. The Angels didn't send anything back for Sisco, and the Angels essentially got a pitcher for nothing. After just 59 innings of Double-A ball for the Angels, Sisco retired from professional baseball. What was your favorite trade? Did we miss any interesting or wacky trades? What was the worst trade your team ever made? Drop a comment below and let us know. Thanks for watching.